This is the troublesome part here. This is huge. This is the airbox, has the ECU attached, ECM. It's got to fit in a tiny little space here. Unexpectedly, I have had to do some work on the Volvo. Its fan is not working, so I've had to buy a fan assembly. Just got back from up the coast for that, and I'm going to try and at least start on it today. Finish it probably tomorrow. I'm going to pull the whole airbox out, a whole bunch of stuff. I've done it once before. It's not a pretty job. Let's get into it. I'll take the complete airbox out. That pops out, comes up. I think I've got to remove that as well. Before taking the airbox out, I'm removing the air filter. We've got a K&N filter there. I am also taking off the air intake on the left. And the airbox itself is pretty easy to pop off, but it's almost impossible to get out. What size of that? With the rain adding to my frustrations, I had to remove the wiring connector. We also had to pop off a hose, and there's like a little cooler on the back of the radiator fan. There's a screw in there that just would not come out, and it took me forever to remove that.
Is that stuck on there?
That is not fun. You can hear the fan's flopped. Compare that to this one. Like angels. Yeah, no play on that at all. That's good. Now, how to feed it back in. With not much actually holding the fan in place, it's like trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. This thing is just such a turd to get back into place. Everything's in the way. But a little bit of here and a little bit of there, and some perseverance, some shoving, some grunting, and some swearing, of course. I did manage to get it sorted. We're back at it again this morning. It was pouring with rain yesterday. It made it really difficult. I did manage to get, as you can see, all of the parts out. This is the troublesome part here. This is huge. This is the airbox, has the ECU attached, ECM. It's got to fit in a tiny little space here. Now, I've done this once before and managed to get it back in without taking things off. This is what we replaced yesterday. This runs so much better than the other one. I haven't plugged it in and run it yet, but just by rotating the blades, there's no noises. The other one had noises. Apparently, you can undo the engine mount, put a jack underneath, and just pop the engine up enough to get some space to slide that box in. That is the theory. That's what I'm going to try this morning. It is still wet and damp out there. Hopefully it doesn't pour with rain again. Fun times! I keep saying it. Sunday is fun day. Sort of. My big shop jack won't fit under the engine, so I need to use the smaller jack to raise the car first. We're going to cut out some rubber, lay it on top of my shop trolley jack there, slide it underneath the sump, take up the slack a little bit. We remove the coolant tank expansion, water expansion tank, whatever you want to call it there, put it to the side, and then we will take those engine mount bolts out. Then we will jack that motor up. That's it. As much as it's going to go up. Jack that engine up as far as it will go. You need as much space as possible to get that hideous airbox back in. Trust me, and it still was tight. A little bit here, a little bit there. It's really not hard once it's in. It's getting it in that's the problem. Oh. Lower the jack just enough to have the engine mount seat itself back in, reinstall those bolts, tighten them up to spec, pull everything out of the way,
That's on.
and check everything's right. That's all back together. The only I mean, I should really do a service while I had everything up and out, but I don't have the oil or the oil filter and stuff at the moment. Some other 60 seconds, we'll worry about that. But what I will do is clean. I've got a K&N air filter in that, and that is looking pretty yucky. So I'm going to give that a water blast and then let it dry. Put some K&N oil on it, wherever that is. I do have some somewhere. Anyway, and reinstall it after we clean it. You think it's dry, and then if we just look down the bottom here, see the water? Oh, still got water coming out of it. With that last piece reinstalled, it's time to just check everything screwed up and tight, a bit of a once over, and then fire the old girl up. And always be sure to have a little bit of a listen, run an ear over everything to make sure that it all sounds okay. There were a few noises here, but I think that's because I disconnected the battery and everything was coming back online. It started, that's a good thing. I just changed because I was soaking wet, so I've just put on a new set of clothes because I'm about to hop in the car and go for a spin to see if everything functions okay. A few noises when it started, but the battery's been off, so I don't know. I don't know what to think with this thing anymore. But in relation to, this cost me $150 as a replacement 6-7 months ago. And it had a little bit of a knock when I put it on last time, or the first time I put it on. And what it is the bearing, there it is there. I don't know if you can see that, but there's a movement in the shaft. So I'd say it doesn't spin correctly enough or efficiently enough to do the, hear that? Yeah, that's the noise. So that's the noise it was making. This one I've just bought, $440. He wanted $550, but I said to him, come on, that's a bit much. $1,100 brand new. $1,100 from the factory. It's a bit rich, isn't it? It's just some plastic cowling and a fan. Anyway, fingers crossed, I'm going to go for a drive and hopefully everything's a-okay. One of the most obvious things we had to achieve before selling the car was to remove the livery, the vinyl wrap for the business. So I got to work on that at my next opportunity. It's not a hard task, it's tedious. It just needs a lot of sunlight. Heat gun is great as well, and you just peel bit by bit, working in small pieces. You can see this is the delaminating basically of the vinyl. The sticky side remains and the vinyl comes off. Not too bad actually. I thought it would have been a bit better on the back. It's still tacky. That should be even better again because it's had less direct sun. Let's give it a shot. I am not an expert, but I have removed a lot of vinyl over the last few years with the business. Using a sharp object, it's always wise to start in an inconspicuous corner, try and peel up the edges, and then start pulling that vinyl off. Look, the back of the car was pretty good, but anything on top of the car, like on the roof or the bonnet, it's going to be destroyed after about 3 years, and you need to use a heat gun. You need to take time and then be prepared to do a lot of elbow work with some alcohol later on. Some news. We have sold the Volvo. I haven't filmed the process. I'm guilty of not doing that because it just happened so quickly the other day. But anyway, I've pulled everything off it, I've cleaned it, I've given it a quick detail, and I've had to remove the pedals. So if you have a look behind me here, look at all the crap here we got. That's all the stuff to do with the cable pedals. Pulled them out yesterday. All my training apparatus, pulleys for the cables. So this is my pedal setup that I had to remove in order to sell the car. The car will still have a compliance plate attached to it. It's meant to stay on the car. Whether or not they keep it is another thing. Look, times are tough. I was going to sell the car. We all know that. I've been talking about it on the program. But this is sort of, this situation has given me a bit of a hurry up. And thankfully, I'm really thankful that I've found someone who's just in love with the concept of the Volvo and the motor and everything. And they're just cashed up and they're keen to go ahead. So this is going to give me a bit of breathing space during the coronavirus pandemic phase of 2020. Had a roadworthy done yesterday. I've changed the plates. We're doing all the transfer papers this afternoon. And Friday, the 17th of the 4th, 2020, the Volvo will no longer be in my possession. And I actually get emotional. You form a connection and a bond with whatever vehicle it is you love. You can start out hating it. And then something happens. You go through some experience in life where it's really important and that car is there with you. And it means something. Anyway, this Volvo helped me out of a really bad situation 3 years ago when I had to start from scratch. It was well priced then. I've made money out of it. It's fed my kids and kept me under a roof. And for that, I'm forever thankful. Now it's time for someone else to enjoy it. And that will also help me keep the roof over my head. It'll actually be 3 years next week since I picked this car up in Sydney and drove it home to Brisbane. I bought it online, flew to Sydney, hopped in the car and drove it home, and came down with the flu. How bizarre is that? Hopefully everything is up to date for the new purchaser and they shall enjoy it. Bring it on, Kim. So I thought I'd park it in a nice position for Kim as he drove up the road or down the road. So it makes an impression. That's important too, because they want to remember the moment they bought the car. Not many people do that. So as he comes around the corner, I want him to see it and go, wow, that looks pretty good. See you, baby. Look at that. Damn sexy car. Hopefully we'll be in about 10 minutes. We can do all the paperwork and I get paid and he can enjoy the car. See ya. The hole for the pedals was there. I don't have any better plug with that, so we might want to find something, okay? Alright? Okay. Bing! Empty space, echo. Yet again, I did not record it correctly. I am really bad for that. Forgive me, Flip My Ride people. I struggle when it comes to recording things with people around for some reason. Hope you enjoyed that and we'll talk soon. See ya.